You know that one friend who becomes your everything? The one who sees your tears before they fall, who finishes your sentences, who swears they'd never hurt you. For me, that was Julia. We grew up together in Prato, just outside Florence. Our mothers were friends. We shared school books, sleepovers, secrets, everything. She was like my second skin, wild, loud, fiercely loyal, or so I thought. I'm Chiara. 23 now, but this story started when I was 21. Back then, I was in my final year of university, studying fashion design. My life was a mix of sketches, deadlines, and espresso-fueled nights. And in the middle of it all, there was Luca. Luca was my first real love. Tall, with that disheveled dark hair and the kind of charm that made waitresses forget their jobs. We met at a summer art fair in Florence. He was sketching people in the piazza. He asked to draw me, and 2 weeks later, we were inseparable. Julia didn't like him. She said he was too slick, too smiley, and once even called him a red flag in designer shoes. But I brushed it off. She was always protective. For about 8 months, Luca and I were magic. Weekend trips to Cinque Terre, making pasta at his tiny apartment, whispering under the stars. But slowly, cracks started showing. He grew distant. His texts were shorter. His smile less warm. I felt it, that horrible intuition only women really understand. The quiet hum of betrayal. And then it came. A message from a number I didn't recognize. You deserve better. He's been lying. Attached was a picture, Luca at a club in Milan, kissing someone. Not just any someone. A brunette with her face mostly turned. But my heart knew. My gut knew. The curve of her jaw. The way she held his neck. I zoomed in. It was Julia. I don't remember if I screamed or sobbed first. My body went cold. I sat on my bed for hours, phone in hand, trying to rewrite what I'd seen. At first, I told myself it was old. A mistake. A prank. Anything. But then the truth hit me harder than I thought it would. Julia, my best friend, the one who had seen me cry over Luca, the one who said he wasn't good enough for me, had stolen him. She knew he broke me. She knew how I'd wept on her shoulder the night he ghosted me. And yet, she still went to him. Not for love. Not for passion. But for revenge. You see, 2 months before that photo, Julia and I had a stupid falling out. Something petty. I'd told her she was becoming arrogant, too obsessed with social media, always chasing clout instead of character. It was a late-night fight at my apartment, wine-fueled, heated, emotional. I apologized the next day. She never did. But she pretended things were fine. Turns out, they weren't. She waited. She planned. And she struck where it would hurt the most. That picture wasn't an accident. It was sent by her. She wanted me to know. She wanted me broken. And I was. For a while. But heartbreak has a strange way of sharpening the mind. I wasn't going to cry forever. I wasn't going to let her win. If she wanted cold, she was about to get frozen. I didn't confront her. Not at first. That's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes, it sits in your chest like a block of ice, heavy and unmoving. But it teaches you. Teaches you how to watch, how to wait. The night I got that message, I went silent. I didn't text Julia. Didn't call Luca. I just let them think I didn't know. And in that silence, I saw everything I had missed. Suddenly, every moment from the past few months replayed in my mind, her smug little smiles when I mentioned Luca, her random, accidental likes on his old photos, her weirdly timed calls when he'd flake on me. It had all been right there. The signs. The smugness. The setup. Julia didn't fall for Luca. She targeted him. I watched her social media carefully. Suddenly, she was posting photos in outfits I'd helped her pick at cafes Luca had taken me to. Wearing the same necklace I lost at his place and never found. She wasn't subtle. She wanted me to see. She wanted to twist the knife. Every post was like a little victory dance. And still, I said nothing. Instead, I smiled when I saw her. Kept our regular coffee dates. Laughed at her stories. Pretended to be fine. I could see it confused her. She kept dropping hints, casual mentions of someone new or how Florence guys are trash. But I wouldn't bite. I just watched. And every time she smiled, pretending nothing had happened, I imagined how sweet it would be when she realized her little game was about to blow up in her face. I started learning, observing, quietly building something beneath the surface. Because here's the thing about Julia, she wasn't just petty. She was ambitious. Always looking for a way up, a way in, especially in the fashion world. She'd started this influencer gig, partnering with small local designers, growing her brand, trying to become Florence's next fashionate girl. She had 12K followers, a blue and cream curated feed, and the personality of a snake wrapped in silk. And me? I worked behind the scenes, studying at Palamoda, interning with respected designers, learning from professors who mattered. I wasn't loud online, but I had real credibility. Julia wanted attention. I had access. She needed validation. I had the keys to the people who could give or take it away. I didn't want revenge that screamed. I wanted revenge that whispered, that lingered, that made her question every decision she'd made. But before that, I needed to be sure. I needed to hear it from her lips. Not for proof. I already knew the truth. I needed it for closure. So one Thursday afternoon, I invited her to La Manager, a cozy cafe near the Duomo, filled with plants, vintage cutlery, and the illusion of calm. She showed up in a silk blouse, oversized sunglasses, and fake nonchalance. I ordered us espresso and pastries. We talked about nothing, trends, school, random gossip, until I leaned forward and said, "Julia, just tell me, was it worth it?" She blinked. "What?" "Sleeping with Luca." For a split second, the mask cracked. I saw the flicker in her eyes. But she quickly pulled it back on. "Chiara," she laughed, brushing her hair back, "you broke up ages ago. He's single. I'm single. Why does it matter?" I tilted my head, smiling softly. "It matters because you knew what he meant to me. Because you knew how much he broke me. And you still chose him." She sipped her coffee and said something I'll never forget. "You judged me, Chiara. Made me feel small. You always act like you're better than me. I just wanted to remind you you're not." And there it was. Not love. Not passion. Punishment. She wanted me to hurt. To kneel. To know what it felt like to be discarded. And in that moment, I stopped feeling pain. All that was left was clarity. She thought she'd taken something from me. But I was about to take everything from her. Not with shouting. Not with rage. But with ice in my veins and a plan in my head. After that cafe conversation, I knew exactly what I was dealing with. Julia wasn't just jealous or petty. She was insecure, and insecurity mixed with ambition? That's volatile. She needed the spotlight like oxygen, and she used people like stepping stones. She could tolerate a lot, judgment, competition, even rejection, but she couldn't handle being invisible. So I decided that's what I'd give her. I would make her irrelevant. But not by exposing her. Not yet. That would be loud. Obvious. She'd get sympathy or spin it. No, I wanted to cut her off from the inside, let her watch as the doors she worked so hard to open slowly closed, without a single explanation. The fashion world here in Florence isn't as big as it seems. Everyone knows everyone, especially in the emerging designer circuit. I interned at Studio Margani, a well-respected label that Julia desperately wanted to collaborate with. She had tagged them multiple times on Instagram, hoping they'd notice. What she didn't know was that I had lunch with Alessandra Margani, the founder's daughter, every Thursday. We'd met during a textile project, bonded over vintage Balenciaga, and kept in touch. So that Thursday, over burrata and sparkling wine at a quiet bistro in Santo Spirito, I mentioned Julia's name. Casually. Lightly. Alessandra scrunched her nose. "Oh, the social girl? She sent us DMs last week asking for a collab. Bit aggressive, no?" I smiled. She's trying. But not always gracefully. There's been some drama lately, too. Kind of messy. I didn't lie. I didn't even elaborate. I didn't need to. All I did was plant out. Alessandra sipped her drink and said, "We'll probably steer clear then. We're rebranding Cleaner Energy." One door closed. And just like that, I saw how easy it would be. I started mapping Julia's world. Who she tagged, who she collaborated with, which brands she was chasing. Small local designers, PR girls, stylists, event planners. Many of them were classmates, interns, assistants, people I had genuine relationships with, not just superficial Instagram comments. And with every coffee, every DM, every passing remark, I did the same thing. Subtle doubt. No smear campaigns. No drama. Just quiet, precise snips, like cutting the threads of a dress until it falls apart at the seams. I even joined a local fashion content group Julia had been trying to get into for months. It was invite-only, small, curated, and I got in through a professor's referral. She'd applied 3 times. Denied, each time. She didn't know I was in it. Until I posted a photo from an exclusive invite-only shoot at Villa La Patria, tagging the group, tagging the designers, showing just enough to let her see what she wasn't part of. She messaged me that night. Julia, wait, how'd you get into that shoot? I've been trying to reach out to them for weeks. I replied after 2 hours. Oh, they reached out to me after seeing my sketches. I guess it's more design-focused. She left me on scene. That was the first time I felt it, the shift. The tremor in her confidence. I could tell she was spiraling a bit. Her posts became more desperate, awkward partnerships with cheap brands, over-edited photos, captions that didn't land. She even started tagging Luca more publicly, as if to remind me she still had something I didn't. But what she didn't realize, he was part of the plan too. Because Luca had a weakness. And it wasn't love. It was ego. To understand how I got to Luca, you have to understand who he is. Luca isn't evil. He's not even smart. He's just hungry. For attention. For praise. For being told he's special, different, talented. He was never satisfied with being the cute guy with a sketchbook. He wanted to be known. That's what drew me to him at first. His drive. His passion for art. His vision. But that ambition had no roots. It shifted with the wind, bending toward whoever had the spotlight. And right now, that spotlight wasn't on Julia. It was on me. The timing was perfect. Just as I started getting invited to exclusive networking events, a contact of mine, Marco DeSanti, a freelance photographer and part-time creative director, was looking for illustrators for a new fashion magazine launching in Milan. He asked if I knew anyone with a unique, raw style. So I said, what about Luca Valenti? Marco reviewed his portfolio and agreed. Let's give him a shot. I handed Luca an opportunity, no strings attached. A feature in a new print. Real exposure. A seat at a table he had only ever peeked at from the outside. He messaged me the next day. Luca, Chiara, wow. I didn't think you'd ever talk to me again, let alone recommend me. It's about talent, Luca. Not personal stuff. I didn't flirt. I didn't forgive. I was polite. Warm. Professional. That was enough. It only took 2 weeks before he started messaging more regularly. Updates about the project. Compliments about my own work. And then, inevitably, the questions about Julia. Luca, is she mad at you or something? She's been acting weird lately. I wouldn't know. We don't talk much. That was it. That one sentence. That distance. I could feel it working. Because Julia had staked her whole image on their relationship, at least publicly. She flaunted it not because it was real, but because it was symbolic. Proof that she won. That she could take what was mine. But now Luca was quietly sliding away from her. Not for love, he didn't love anyone. But because I had something she didn't. Access. One afternoon, I ran into him at an event in Florence. Small gathering, mostly creatives and fashion insiders. He hadn't even known I'd be there. He came up to me, unsure, awkward. Hey, you look good. I smiled, professional but kind. Thanks. Glad the magazine reached out. I heard your illustrations were getting good feedback. He lit up. He needed that. The praise. The recognition. It was like watching a starving man taste sugar. Julia wasn't at the event. Later that night, I posted a picture from the gathering, cropped just enough to show Luca in the background, blurry but unmistakable. I didn't tag him. didn't even mention him. But I knew she would see it. And she did. Because the next day, her story was a long captioned photo of her and Luca, clinging to him like a warning label. The caption? Something desperate like, when your love is your peace. Luca liked it. But I noticed something. He didn't repost it. And 2 days later, he messaged me again. Luca, she's been kind of possessive lately. You think she's threatened by you? I didn't answer that question. I just replied, you should decide who you want to be associated with, Luca. Because some people burn bridges while thinking they're lighting the way. That was enough to plant the seed. He started pulling away from her. Subtly. Canceling dinners. Posting less. Engaging more with other women's posts. Including mine. Julia was slipping. Her grip was failing. And I hadn't even touched her directly. But I wasn't done yet. Because now that I had weakened her foundation, it was time to push. She wanted my life? Then I'd let her watch me live it. And let her wonder why hers was crumbling around her. It was slow. Not the kind of downfall that made headlines or caused screaming matches in the street. No. Julia's unraveling was quieter, like watching silk threads pulled loose one by one until the whole thing collapsed in a pile. She was still posting, still pretending everything was perfect, her morning cappuccinos, her date nights with Luca, her promo codes for discount sunglasses. But something had changed. The likes dipped. The comments slowed. The energy around her started to shift. People in our circle, the ones who actually mattered, had stopped inviting her. Not out of malice. Just indifference. A slow, social frostbite. And I was everywhere. Featured in Voluto, the local design digest. Asked to speak at a student showcase at Palamoda. Collaborating with Alessandra Margani on a small capsule accessory line. I wasn't bragging. I didn't flaunt. But Julia saw it. Every bit of it. She'd gone from mocking my quiet, nerdy grind to watching it put her own brand in the shadows. And then came the final match. The Florence Spring Preview Gala. One of the most anticipated fashion events of the year, hosted in the Palazzo Corsini, with designers, influencers, and press attending. The kind of event that could change someone's trajectory if they impressed the right people. I got an invitation directly from the planning committee. Julia did not. But she didn't know that yet. So when I posted a teaser story of my gown fitting at Atelier Rossetti, where Julia had begged to be dressed before and been rejected, she messaged me, almost instantly. Julia, are you going to the spring preview? Me, yes. I'll be helping with some of the student-presented designs. She replied, cool. Luca and I might swing by too. He just got asked to sketch live portraits there. That was news to me. Because I was the one who had recommended the live sketch segment. And I knew who the planner was hiring. So I messaged Marco. Me, hey, did you confirm Luca for the live art booth? Marco, no. He's good, but we're going with someone who's worked events before. Want me to send him a thank you note? Me, no need. Let him find out naturally. And he did. The night of the event, the palazzo shimmered chandeliers, velvet ropes, the scent of champagne, and expensive perfume everywhere. I wore a custom black and gold piece that I had helped design myself. I felt powerful, unapologetic, untouchable. Julia showed up an hour in a gown I had seen before. One she'd bought secondhand from a boutique clearance rack and dyed herself. Her makeup was heavy, her energy tense. Luca followed behind her, awkward, clearly irritated. I found out later he had assumed he'd be sketching there and only realized he wasn't on the list when they didn't let him through the artist entrance. They had come to make a statement, but the room didn't notice them. It noticed me. Alessandra pulled me aside to introduce me to a visiting designer from Milan. A photographer from Vogue Italia took a few candid snaps of me beside one of my installations. When Julia tried to squeeze into a group photo near the Rossetti exhibit, one of the PR girls gently pulled her aside and said, "Sorry, this is just for collaborators." I watched from across the room as she stood there, clutching her glass of Prosecco, scanning the crowd for someone to validate her. Luca wasn't even beside her anymore. He was at the bar, chatting with a stylist I'd introduced him to 2 days ago. Julia didn't leave immediately. She stayed for another hour hoping, maybe, to find a moment, a chance, a photo op. But it never came. And eventually, she left. No grand exit. No tears. Just silence. I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate. But I did smile. Because for the first time since she decided to destroy me, she knew what it felt like to be completely invisible. After the gala, I didn't hear from Julia for weeks. Not directly, anyway. But I saw the shift online. The silence. She stopped posting selfies. Her usual brunch shots and designer-tagged outfits vanished. Her grid went quiet, except for a single, desperate post. A throwback photo of her and Luca at some beachside cafe with a caption that tried too hard. Real ones stick with you through it all. Loyalty, clout. No one cared. The likes barely hit 300. Julia was slipping. Fast. And the truth was, no one was reaching out to pull her back up. In the influencer world, loyalty is a myth. Relevance is currency. And Julia? She was broke. But I wasn't done yet. You see, Julia had one last opportunity she'd been clinging to, a small lifestyle campaign with Maison Miro, a boutique brand trying to grow in the Florence market. They were planning a limited collection drop and wanted a local face, someone who wasn't a big name, but who had edge and flair. Julia had been teasing it for months. It was supposed to be her comeback. What she didn't know was that the founder of Maison Miro, Raffaella Miro, was an old friend of my mentor at Palamoda. And I had met Raffaella once, during a private concept review for the brand's spring line. I didn't even bring up Julia's name at first. But as we sat in her studio, surrounded by swatches and sketches, she asked me casually, "Do you know a girl named Julia Valli? She applied for our collab campaign last season." I nodded slowly. Yes. I used to. Her brows lifted. Used to. I hesitated. Just for a second. She's complicated. Beautiful face, sure. But there's been some drama in the local scene. A few collabs pulled back after her last brand partnership didn't go well. You know how fast that stuff spreads. Again, no lies. Just truth served with a chilled fork. Raffaella nodded thoughtfully. Good to know. We need someone stable. No risk. That same night, they pulled her from consideration. And the next morning, I got a call. Raffaella wanted me instead. I love your design sensibility, she said. We're not just selling clothes. We're selling direction. You're that direction. I accepted politely, humbly, graciously. And when Maison Miro announced the campaign, featuring me in a crisp cream blazer, standing against a backdrop of the Tuscan countryside, I didn't tag anyone. I didn't gloat. But I knew Julia saw it. Because 12 hours later, I got a message. Julia, you did this, didn't you? That was it. No emojis. No fake tone. Just raw anger. Desperation. I stared at the message for a while. Then I typed. Me. No, Julia. You did this. When you decided to hurt someone who genuinely loved you. When you chose to play dirty. I just stopped protecting you from the consequences. She didn't respond. She didn't block me either. That was the most telling part. She wanted to see. She needed to watch every post, every collaboration, every milestone that could have been hers, if she hadn't let her pride poison everything. Her name had quietly vanished from every contact list that mattered. PR firms stopped taking her calls. Collaborators stopped responding. People still followed her out of habit, but no one engaged. She had become what every influencer fears most. Dead weight. And the cruelest part? I never touched her. I never yelled, never threatened, never exposed her. I just let her feel what I had felt the day she sent that photo of her and Luca. Alone. Small. Forgotten. You'd think that after everything, the sabotage, the silence, the exile from the world she worked so hard to fake, Julia would try to fix it. Say sorry. Beg for a second chance. She didn't. She never apologized. And honestly, I didn't need her to. Because by then, I understood something deeper. Some people aren't looking for healing. They're just looking for new ways to infect you. A few weeks after the Maison Miro campaign went live, I got another message from her. This one, different. Julia. Maybe we both went too far. Can we meet? Just talk. I stared at the screen, numb. It was so perfectly Julia. Not an apology, not an admission, just a rewrite of the truth so she could live with herself. But this wasn't a story she got to control anymore. So I typed, "Me. No, Julia. We don't need to talk. I don't hate you. But I don't trust you. And that means there's nothing left to say." And that was that. I blocked her number after that. Not because I was angry. Because I was free. You see, revenge isn't always about destroying the other person. Sometimes, it's just about disconnecting their power over you. About reclaiming the version of yourself that they tried to erase. And for the first time in a long time, I felt whole. Not because I won, but because I survived her without becoming like her. Luca? He tried to reach out too. Months later. Said he'd made mistakes. Wanted to catch up as friends. I didn't even respond. Julia's Instagram? Still active. Still curated. Still pretending. But the likes have faded. The comments are dry. She's become what she never thought she'd be. Unremarkable. And I'm thriving. My work's being featured in an upcoming Milan showcase. I've started designing my own line, something personal, something raw. And every piece I create, every fabric I touch reminds me. I didn't get here because I was cruel. I got here because I chose precision over pettiness. Class over chaos. Closure isn't something people like Julia get. Because poison doesn't deserve closure. Only distance.